So in this video, what I thought we would do is take a look at setting up and installing the Windows XP total conversion for xfce, also known as xfce-winxp-tc by Wozniak on GitHub. So essentially what this project is it aims to replicate the XP experience on the xfce desktop environment for Linux and Unix-like systems. This includes things such as, the desktop theme, such as the Luna desktop theme, the fonts that were used in Windows XP, the Windows XP cursors, the XP icons, and even some of the programs like WinVer and the shell, such as the start menu and the system tray. So basically, this just aims to replicate the Windows XP experience as accurately as possible on Linux. And I think it does a very good job at that. And we're going to be taking a look at it. So before we look at setting it up and installing it from nothing, let's take a look at what it looks like when it's installed, or at least what it can kind of look like. So let me unlock here. So this is kind of what it will look like after it has been installed and set up. Now, it's not perfect, and some of that might be on me just not configuring things properly and such. I did this kind of last night. I kind of just threw this together just to see if I could get it to work and get it to look pretty decent. And I do think it came out pretty well. So this is a Ubuntu 22.10 Linux desktop with the XP Total Conversion installed. We have things such as the Bliss wallpaper here, the default Windows XP wallpaper. We have the Luna visual style, the Windows XP start button, even down to saying click here to begin. Like I said, the accuracy in this project is pretty incredible, especially given that this project isn't even complete yet. This project, I should probably mention that this project is indeed a work in progress. And it is being worked on, but like the repository itself says, it's a chipping away spot more than anything. So this is just something that's worked on whenever the project author Wozniak has a chance to sit down and sort of chip away at it. So there are still some things that are incomplete, and there are still some things that are being improved and such. But even where it is right now, it's still pretty impressive. So yeah, we have the Windows XP Start button. It says click here to begin. We have the Windows XP Start menu, which is very well done. This is basically spot on to the Windows XP Start menu. We have the account picture, which you can't change yet. It even says that it's not implemented. You have your username, internet email. You have your Linux applications here. We have the My Documents and such, the normal start menu things that you would expect from the Windows XP Start menu, with all the Windows XP icons as well. We have all of our programs put into categories and such. Yeah, this is pretty spot on, honestly. And it's not perfect, but, there are some bugs. Yes, there are some couple glitches and things, a couple bugs. But, for what it is, it's pretty incredible. Now I can't seem to get it to go away. Yeah, it is very much a work in progress, but it is what it is, But we also have other things as well, such as the run utility, which is one of those programs that's included in the Total Conversion project. This replicates the run application on Windows XP. And we even have WinVer, which replicates the Windows XP WinVer applet. You can see about Windows. We have the Windows XP Luna title bar here with the buttons and everything. We have the Windows XP default font, which is Tahoma 8-point font. So about Windows, you see Microsoft Windows XP Professional x64 edition, which is pretty cool. We see Microsoft Windows, and then we see our kernel information for our Linux kernel. You can see Ubuntu, and then Linux 5.19, and then license under the terms of the user, and then our physical memory available to Windows, quote unquote Windows. So super cool. And you can see under here, let me pull up NeoFetch. You can see this is indeed Ubuntu. Ubuntu 22.10. This is an ARM64 version because I'm running this on my Mac, which is an Apple Silicon machine. But that doesn't really matter a ton. We see Windows XP style and Luna, so very cool. And then, we even got some cool extras in here, such as we even got Space Cadet Pinball. And this is not just the Windows application running under Wine. This is another open source project. This is another open source project, which is actually a decompilation of the Windows XP Space Cadet Pinball that was then ported to SDL. So this is a native ARM64 Linux build of Space Cadet Pinball running in here. And you can see it's another open source project. Here's a GitHub link right here. So that's really cool. It's nice because I actually wouldn't be able to run the native Windows version on here through Wine because this is an ARM64 version of Linux. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, this is pretty much what it's like. So we're going to go over into my other Linux virtual machine and we're going to set it up from there. All right, so here we have our clean installation of Ubuntu 22.10, as you can see. Ubuntu 22.10, ARM64. Again, it doesn't really matter. I will have to make some tweaks to some of the packaging scripts and such so that it can actually build for ARM64. If you're using x86-64 system, then you won't actually need to modify anything because it's set up already to work with x86-64. But if you have anything else, like if you have ARM64 or any different architecture that's not AMD 64/x86-64, you will need to modify some of these scripts because the architecture is hard-coded into some of the scripts temporarily. And I will go over those scripts as well. But anyway, so here we are in our clean desktop. The only thing that I've installed in this virtual machine, aside from what Ubuntu 22.10 installs by default, is that I have installed NeoFetch right here, and I've also installed Parallels Tools since I am running this in a Parallels virtual machine. So I've installed Parallels Tools and NeoFetch myself, but otherwise it's a stock Ubuntu 22.10. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clone the GitHub repository that has all the total conversion files. And so I'm just going to clone this to my desktop. You can clone this wherever you'd like. You can put in your downloads, your documents. I'm just going to put it on my desktop just because it's just going to be easier for me. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to, in our terminal, we're going to type git clone, and then we're going to paste the URL. And then we're going to type in recurse submodules, since this repository also uses submodules as well. And if we don't add this recurse submodules, it's not going to clone those by default. We're going to clone it to our desktop, and it's going to clone both the total conversion files and the submodules, which is a modified xfce panel with some modifications for this total conversion. So as you can see in here now, we have the files, and then we also have our clone panel. We're going to start with packaging these. So like I said, this is an incomplete project at the moment, and the packaging is also incomplete. So at the moment, the packaging scripts will only build .deb files, which are essentially for Debian-based distributions, such as Debian, Ubuntu, Xubuntu, Kubuntu, Linux Mint. Anything that's Debian-based and uses apt will use .deb packages, and those are that's what we will be using here. The packaging scripts for now only build .deb packages. In the future, they're going to support other distributions, but currently it's just those deb packages. So granted, you could still set this up on another distribution that doesn't use deb packages, but it will be manual installation that will not be covered in this video. So we're going to start building all these packages, and we're going to go over that as well. There is documentation for each packaging script in the packaging directory, and you can look at the readmes in there to get an idea as to what we're dealing with. But a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to start with the cursors, and some of these you don't really have to worry about. Some of these don't have to be modified. They'll just work. So for example, we're going to start by building the cursors. So we'll go to our cursors, And for these, all you have to do is you just run this script and then the cursors that you want to build. So this one's kind of out of date, so I'm going to show you how to do this here. I'll keep switching. We run packcurs.sh, and then we specify the cursors that we want. So for example, we'll give it no shadow standard, and then we'll give it with shadow standard. This will build the two cursor packages that we currently have, one of them being no shadow and with shadow. So no shadow standard and with shadow. Basically, when you're building the cursors or when you're packing the cursors, in the root directory, the ones that you want to build will be the folder name of the cursor packages that you want to build. So in this case, we only currently have the standard with and without shadows, but in the future we might have more. So basically the way it's determined is by the folder name. So we're going to build both of these, and you can specify both names at once. And as you can see, we are missing a package. Throughout the process, there will be certain packages that are not installed by default that you will need to install. That's okay. You can just apt-get install those packages. And once you do that, then it should run. And as you can see, it built these cursor packages, and they will be located inside the packaging folder. So you can see we have the cursors now in here. And I'm not going to install the packages just yet. I'm going to hold off until everything's been built, and then we'll install them and set them up. So the next thing we're going to package is the fonts. So for the fonts, it's easy. You literally just run the pack fonts script, and you don't have to supply anything. It's just going to package all the fonts up and then output a deb package for this as well. So now we have our fonts, and now we're going to go over to our libraries. And this is where it's going to require some modification on my part, for my system at least. Like I said, if you are running an AMD 64 system, it's not going to be necessary to modify any of this stuff. But in the case of my system, I will need to, because of the fact that I am running an AMD 64 version of Windows. The libraries and the packaging will reflect to the shared directory in the repository. So the shared libraries is what the libs packaging will cover. So the shared libraries are comgtk, exec, and shl-lang. So these are the ones that we're going to be building. So essentially what I'm going to have to do on my end is I'm going to have to go to the shared directory, and then for all these I'm going to have to modify the architecture. In the Debian control.in file, this is not hard-coded, so we don't have to worry about this one. But as such, in the CMake files for some of these, we are going to have to modify these. The shared library in files as well are not hard-coded. So in this case, we have shll-lang.pc.in. This does not have a hard-coded architecture either. So we don't actually have to worry about this one. But what we will need to do is we will need to modify the CMake file. And you can see in here we do have some hard coding for x86-64. So we see AMD 64 here, which can be, on my case, for an ARM64 system, we'll change to ARM64. And then for x86-64, in the case of an ARM64 system, we change it to ARCH64. And then this one will also change to ARCH64. And now that's updated, so we're good here. Now we'll go to exec. And in here, this exec.pc.in also does not hard code the architecture. So we don't need to worry about it here. But in the CMakes, it's going to be the same deal. We're going to have AMD 64 here, which we're going to change to ARM64. And then x86-64, we're going to change to ARCH64. And then same for here, ARCH64. And so once that's updated, we can close out of this. And then we're going to go to comgtk. And our comgtk.pc.in also does not hardcode the architecture. So we're just going to go to our CMake lists. And we're going to change this from AMD 64 to ARM64, just like before. This will be ARCH64, and then this will also be ARCH64. Again, this is not ideal. Ideally, I would add a conditional statement to also check for ARCH64 instead of just modifying these directly. But just for the sake of the video, I'm just going to do it here. And I do plan on potentially opening a pull request on the repository that does add the proper support. for ARM64, but at the moment, this is just what we need to get this built on here. What we'll also notice is that there are certain shared libraries that will depend on other libraries to build properly. So exec will depend on comgtk for an example. So comgtk will actually need to be built and installed first before we can build exec. So we actually won't be able to build all the libraries at once. We're going to need to build comgtk first, and then we can build the others as well, because the others will depend on comgtk. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build comgtk first, pack the libraries, and we're going to build comgtk. Okay, so we're missing CMake. So we're going to install CMake. Once that's good, we're going to build, oh, I'm missing another one. I'm missing getText. Interesting. So we're going to install getText. So another thing is that it only tells you, it only gives you one missing package at a time. It's not going to tell you every single package you're missing. So that might be something that changes in the future, but for now, it'll tell you one package at a time. Okay, so our compilation failed. So we're going to take a look and see why our compilation failed. So what we can do is we can go to packaging, deb, libraries, and then comgtk build, and we can see why it failed here. We are missing package config. All right, so now we'll try it again. Failed again. So let's see why it failed this time. We are missing glib 2.0. We're going to try just installing glib 2.0. Now try it again. Failed again. Let's see why it failed this time. Ah, we're missing GTK. Yeah, that might be important. So let's install that. And look at that, it built this time, and we have our comgtk package. So in this case, we're actually going to install this package because we're going to need this to build the other shared libraries. So to install, we do sudo dpkg-i, and then the package name, so libcomgtk. That will install that. Now we're going to try to pack the other libraries, such as exec. So it looks like we got that. So I'm actually just going to install these shared libraries all now, just so we don't have to worry about it for later. And then I'm also going to package shl-lang, and that built as well. Would you look at that? All right, so we're going to install that as well. And get that installed on here. All right, so we now have those installed. Now we are going to build the panel applications. So before we build the panel applications, we're probably actually going to want to build the xfce-winxp-tc panel. This is a modification of xfce4 panel, which fixes some issues with the xfce panel to allow for this total conversion to look more accurate to Windows XP. So we're going to build this one. So we're going to do that by going to cd to our submodules. We're going to go in here, and then we're going to go to packaging. So first we're just going to run pack libxfce4 panel 2.0.sh. You don't seem to have the xfce development tools installed in your system. Please install the, oh, okay. Now I'll try it again. You must have GTK doc installed. Okay. I'll try it again. Looks like it's working. Oh, cool, it didn't work. Okay, so I was able to get here by installing libxfce4 panel -2.0-dev. So this is what I installed for that. And then for this one, I believe it was, libgarcon 1.0 dev, I believe is what it was, to install to get around this one. So I believe that's what we install here, and now try to package it again. Okay, let's see if we can get this. So libgarcon-gtk3-1-dev should get this next one out of the way. Let's see here. All right. So now we're going to install libxo-2-dev. Try this again. All right, now we're going to install. Okay, so instead of 3.0, it's just 3, it looks like. Try to do this again. All right, would you look at that? We have packaged successfully the panel. So it looks like it's under packaging. Okay, so we're going to install this. All right, we also have to make sure that we run pack xfce for panel to pack that and install that as well. Success. So we're going to install this as well. All right, so now we have that installed. All right, now we can get to the panel plugins. All right, so in my case of being on an ARM system, we're gonna have to modify some of this stuff as well. So in the case of packplug.sh, we're actually gonna have to make a bit of a modification to this and x86-64 hard code in here. Then in my case, I'll have to change to AArch64 and this one. And then for the actual panel plugins, I believe it's under shell, yes. This is hard-coded and needs to become ARM64. So for the systray and start, we will need to update these. So again, this is hard-coded, so we will need to update this. All right, so we're just gonna try this out and hope for the best, so. Shell start and shell systray. So we're just gonna try building these and wow, okay, so they built. And then install. Honestly, I'm just gonna go through and install all the stuff that we've already packaged just so that I don't forget, because knowing me, I will forget. So we're gonna install the fonts since we hadn't yet installed those. And then we're also going to install the cursor packs since we hadn't yet installed those either. So I'm just gonna install them just so I don't forget, because knowing me, I will forget. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. All right. So now we've installed everything up to this point. All right, so now we're gonna work on the program packaging in the shell file. These might need to be modified. Debian control. Yes, this is indeed hard-coded for AMD 64, so we're going to change this to ARM 64. And then our run, we're going to take a look at this, change this from AMD 64 to ARM 64. So now we should be able to just package these and install them. So we're going to run packprog shell run and shell winver to build these. So there we go. And we're going to install, we're going to install the run utility, and then we're going to install winver. All right, so now we're going to pack the sounds and install those. And then the only thing we have left at this point is themes. So for themes at the moment, we only have the Luna theme. So when you run packthem.sh, it's only going to build the Luna theme. More themes are being added in the future. In fact, this is something that's being worked on currently, I believe. But at the moment, it's really only the Luna theme that is complete, or at least the most complete out of them all. So we're missing Ruby Sass here, so we're going to install that. And then pack the themes, or the theme. It's just the Luna theme, I believe. Yeah, so it's just the Luna Blue theme that we can currently build, but we're going to build that. So we're going to run packthem.sh Luna Blue, and this will build the Luna Blue theme. And then we're just going to install that. So for the icons, the more complete icon pack is actually in another branch that is not master. So at the moment, we are currently in the master branch. The more complete icon pack is in another branch. So we're actually gonna go over to that branch to build that icon pack, and then we're gonna come back to master. So that branch is actually feet-72. So the way that we do that is from our repository in our terminal, just type git checkout feet-72. And it actually won't let me switch because I need to either commit my changes or stash them. So I'm just going to, all right, so now we can check out this one. And now we're gonna go to packaging, deb, icons. So we're gonna run pack icon Luna, and there it should build it. So now we're going to install the Luna icon theme. So there we go. Now we have the Luna icon theme. So now once we've done that, we can switch back over to the master branch. Well, at this point, I guess we don't really have to, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. We can just switch back over to the master branch at this point because we now have our icons installed. All right, so once we've successfully packaged and installed all of the packages for the total conversion, it is best practice to now reboot the system since we have installed a new xfce panel and such. So before we get to configure everything, let's just do a quick reboot. All right, so in my case, I'm getting this Pulse Audio plugin unexpectedly left the panel, so I'm just not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna remove it, honestly. So now we can get to work on this and now start customizing this. So first we're gonna go to settings. We're gonna start with our panel. So we're gonna go to our panel settings here. We're going to unlock the panel, and we're gonna move it down here. Now we can relock that. We're going to make this larger. We're actually gonna make this 32 pixels for the row size. And then we're gonna go to appearance. Dark mode is off, so we're gonna make sure we're gonna turn off dark mode. We're going to have the background for none. Opacity is gonna be at 100 all the time. And now we're going to add our Windows XP plugins. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our Windows XP start button. So that's right here. Now it's not themed yet, so it's not gonna look right. We're gonna get to that when we get the theming in. But then we're also going to add our Windows XP notification area. So we're gonna add that too. So we're gonna remove the whisker menu. We're not gonna need that. We're gonna move our start button to the top here. So now we have our start menu. Wow, look at that. It's a very funky looking start menu so far. It's a Windows XP xfce start menu, so not bad. And then we have our Windows XP notification area. So we're not going to need the clock anymore, the XFCE clock. We can remove that. And so we're just going to leave that like it is for now. Now we're going to go to, you can see where it's click here to begin, start, very nice. So we're going to go to start. We're going to go to control panel. So now we have our control panel. We're going to go to appearance, and we're going to change it to the Windows XP style. And as you can see, we're already getting there. We're going to change the icons to the Luna icon theme. Now we're going to go to fonts, and we're going to change this to the default XP font, which is Tahoma regular 8-point font. So that's going to be our system font. And then I'm just going to make the monospace one. I don't know if this is correct, but I also make this Tahoma 8. I just leave the anti-aliasing on. You do need to download the Bliss wallpaper yourself. So I'm going to get that and put it in here, but not yet. But at the moment, it doesn't give you the Bliss wallpaper by default. At least I don't believe it does. If it does, I'm not really sure where it puts it, to be honest with you. I don't think it's under backgrounds now. Yeah, you might have to download it yourself. At least that's what I had to do. I believe I had to download the Bliss wallpaper myself. I changed the icon size to 32 to match the XP icons a little bit better. I put show icons on primary display. I don't know if that actually does anything. I don't think it does. Icon tooltips, thumbnails, things like that. Just leave that as is. Panel. We already really changed this before, so we don't really have to touch it again. But we can remove some of this stuff because it's not really XP-like. So we can remove the Power Manager plugin. You can leave these if you want, if you don't really care too much, but I'm just going to pull these out. Notification plugin. status tray plugin. I'm also going to remove this separator here. There we go, not too bad. So I have our start button, the Windows buttons, the separator for here, and then the notification area, which you can see now shows up properly with the Windows XP theme. As you can see, our start menu now, ooh gosh, there we go, it corrected itself. Very nice. And then we do have our run program, which doesn't seem to be themed properly. I might have to reboot the machine, but there we go. I'll just probably give it a quick reboot after and see if that fixes it. We're then going to change this also to the Windows XP style. This might actually be why it wasn't showing up properly. Tahoma regular 8-point font, and then we're going to make this a left aligned menu. So now when we open run, it should, there we go. So now that's properly themed, and there we go. Would you look at that? All right. So to change your mouse pointers to the XP mouse pointers, you just go to mouse and touchpad, and then go to themes, and then you can either do XP with pointer shadows or just XP standard. I'm going to do the ones with the pointer shadows. So you just select that, and then it should apply. There we go. So now we have our XP mouse cursor with the pointer shadow. Oh, very nice. That's fine. It's okay. It's probably not an issue. And then you don't have to do this, but in your Light DM GTK plus greeter settings, you can change the theme also to Windows XP style. I mean, it's not going to look right, really. It's going to look kind of strange, but you know, it does the job. And so there you go. You kind of have the idea there. It's kind of coming together. Now you can get the Luna wallpaper if you want it by, you know, or the Bliss wallpaper. So there we go. So now we have the Bliss wallpaper. And yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it. So there are a couple extra steps for post-install for the sounds, just to get them to be used. Linux doesn't really use sounds a ton, or at least xfce doesn't. So they're not going to get used a ton, but we're just going to go ahead and set them up anyway because, you know, might as well. So we're just going to install the packages and set it up the way that was recommended in the post install on the README. So we're just going to install these packages here. Now we're going to edit our etc environment, and we're going to add this line to the end of it, right here. And then Control X and Y to save that file. And now there's one last step that we have. We have to go to our control panel, and then go to our settings editor, and then go to X settings, and then net. Check enable event sounds, and then enable input feedback sounds. And then our sound theme name will be Windows XP default. And so that should be everything for the sounds. So once that's done, we're just going to go ahead and give it one final reboot. And there we go. We now have our Windows XP xfce total conversion installed and looking pretty good. So there we go. Of course, you know, it is still very much a work in progress. Like I said before, it's not perfect. It's still being chipped away at gradually as time goes on. And it will only get better from this point onwards, at least I would imagine so. But either way, as it stands right now, it is still very well done, very well put together, very convincing, and I quite like it. So that pretty much wraps up my video on setting up and installing the Windows XP total conversion for xfce. I am not a contributor or a developer for this project. I'm just someone who thought about, you know, why not make a guide for setting it up, at least in its current state. It is subject to change, so it's possible if you're watching this in the future, it might not, the setup process might have changed since then, so just something to keep in mind. But as it stands, this is currently how it is. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to let me know in the comments. I will leave all the links in the description for the GitHub links for the projects and everything. And hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it. And hopefully you were able to set up the total conversion on your xfce installation as well. But regardless, take care, folks, and have a great day.